If you're studying political science, especially for exams like the UPSC, you absolutely have to know the story of political theory. And trust me, it's a real story. It's about how the way we even think about politics and justice was fought over, nearly died out completely, and then came back stronger than ever. So let's dive into this incredible drama of decline and rebirth.
And really, this whole thing boils down to one huge question. Is politics just about observing what's happening, counting votes, tracking power, like a science? Or is it about asking the big, messy questions? Is this system just? Is it fair? Does it create a good society? For a long, long time, this very debate practically tore the entire field in two.
So, here are the two rival camps. On one side, you've got your classic political philosophy. This is what we call normative. It's all about values, about what ought to be. It dreams about the ideal state. Then, on the other side, you've got the newer kid on the block, political science. It's empirical. It doesn't care about dreams. It cares about cold, hard facts, what simply is. This is the clash that set the stage for a massive crisis.
Now, to really get why it almost fell apart, you first have to understand what it was trying to do in the first place. For centuries, political theory wasn't just some boring academic subject. No way. It was this grand philosophical adventure, a search for the best possible way for all of us to live together. Think of it like a massive ongoing conversation that lasted for centuries. You had giants like Plato and Aristotle, and they weren't just describing the governments they saw, they were trying to design the perfect state, one that could actually make people better, more virtuous citizens. The whole thing was built on these huge, timeless ideas: liberty, equality, and justice.
And then, boom, after World War II, everything changed. A whole new movement stormed onto the scene, and they came armed with statistics, data, and a mission to turn the study of politics into a legit hard science. This, my friends, was the behavioral revolution. Behavioralism was a total break from everything that came before it. The behavioralists basically said, all this talk about justice and the good life, it's just speculation. It's not science. For them, the only thing that mattered was what you could see, measure, and prove, how people actually vote, what politicians actually do, how power really works on the ground. So what was driving all this? Well, it was a quest for legitimacy. They wanted political science to be taken as seriously as physics or chemistry. And to do that, they felt they had to get rid of all those messy, subjective values from philosophy. Their motto was pretty much, if you can't measure it and put it on a chart, it's not worth our time. And this craze for science, just swept through the academic world. All of a sudden, traditional political theory started to look, well, old-fashioned, obsolete, and it got pushed to the sidelines. This was the start of its great decline. A thinker named Dante Germino really put his finger on it. He said there were two big culprits. First, this craze of science, which is a philosophy called positivism, the idea that only things you can scientifically prove are real. And second, he said that rigid ideologies were trying to provide all the answers, leaving no room for real, open-ended philosophical questions. This timeline really shows you how fast the crisis happened. Right after the war, the field is already asking, who are we? What's our purpose? By the 50s, behavioralism is totally dominant, pushing data over everything else. And that leads right into the 1960s, a time when people were seriously talking about the death of political theory. It honestly looked like the numbers guys had won, and the philosophers had lost. But just when it looks like it was all over, a comeback story began. See, as the 1960s rolled on, with the Vietnam War raging and the civil rights movement demanding change, a new generation of thinkers started to ask a pretty obvious question. What good is all this data if it has nothing to say about the biggest, most urgent problems in our society? And that's where post-behavioralism comes in. Now, this wasn't about throwing out science, not at all. It was about making science relevant. These thinkers argued that you can't separate facts from values. They're intertwined. The things we choose to study, that's a value choice. And our research has to mean something for the real world. It was the bridge that finally brought those two warring sides back together. This quote from T.H. Green just nails the spirit of the comeback. It's a powerful reminder that you can't just study the state by looking at data points. You have to go deeper. You have to understand its moral purpose, which starts with something as fundamental as the human desire for freedom and rights. So, what happened when these two sides finally made peace? Well, political theory didn't just go back to the way things were. It was reborn. It came back with this incredible new energy, ready to take on the massive challenges of the modern world. So, what did this revitalized field actually look like?
The whole field just exploded with new ideas. This new combination of big philosophical questions and sharp scientific tools gave birth to all these powerful critical theories. Suddenly you had feminism asking, hey, what about women's experiences in all these theories of justice? You had environmentalism questioning the whole idea of endless economic growth. Post-colonialism started to unpack the legacies of empire. These weren't just small little subfields. They were shaking the very foundations of political thought.
Here's a perfect example of this new approach in action, the core/periphery model. It uses ideas from neo-Marxism to show how the global economy isn't a level playing field. It creates a system of wealthy core countries and poorer periphery countries. This is exactly what reborn political theory does. It gives us sharp analytical tools to ask tough questions about things like global justice.
So at the end of the day, here's the big takeaway. Political theory came back from the brink of extinction, and it was more powerful and more relevant than ever before. It wasn't just about studying what dead guys wrote centuries ago. It became a living, breathing toolkit for understanding the world around us, and more importantly, for imagining how we could make it better. And that brings us right up to today. That never-ending conversation is still going. In a world dealing with AI, climate change, and global instability, we need both sharp analysis and a bold moral vision more than ever. The story of political theory's evolution isn't just history, it's preparation for the future. So I'll leave you with this. What do you think is the next great question we need to answer?